2. Welcome back at WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. When the Ravens are winning, it is a good week to reach to alums. I ran into Jamal Lewis. I ran into John Ogden on Sunday night in the dismantling of the New England Patriots. But perhaps no Ravens alum takes a beating of the New England Patriots more seriously and with more conviction and more love than the main event himself. Longtime Raven, my friend, longtime sports radio personality in the Boston, Massachusetts area, which is not easy to do when you're a Baltimore Raven. We welcome the main event, Mike Flynn, back on to the program. Last time I had you on, you were Pat Ricard was talking about the shrine in Orono, Maine. To your,
I hope they never take it down. I'm concerned because my connection there was Jack Cosgrove, and he was the coach for 20-something years, and then he was the assistant AD, but now he's gone. He's coaching at Colby. So I'm scared that somebody's going to come along and take that shrine down.
Colby, isn't that DeCosta's place, Colby? Is that
Yes. Yeah, he's taking the head job there. I have no idea why. He had the best job in the world. The assistant AD is basically shaking hands and kissing babies. But he had to get back in the coaching game. But I'm concerned, Nestor. That's like, my last deal. I can bring my kids up there. They see the shrine. Once that goes, man, then you're officially done.
Yeah, I mean, you better hope that happens before your kids are 18. You have to sign off on the release and all that. Mike Flynn to be inducted into UMaine Ring of Honor, April 2017. This happened 2 years ago then, huh?
Yeah, 2 years ago. Where you been, buddy?
Dude, I did not get the press release, man.
You didn't?
All I read about is Jake and
Broadway. Maine is in Alabama. We don't do national press releases.
Well, tell your wife she should be as proud of you as she is of her kids, and I'd read about it on Facebook.
Well, I don't know if she's as proud as me, but...
All right, man, let's get to some football, brother. Wow, right? I mean, we go back a year and a half. They draft Lamar Jackson. You and I have talked about this, and how is this going to work, and why is this going to work, and... clearly Eric DeCosta and Ozzie Newsome and some people in the organization took a chance that no one else was willing to take. A year and a half later, here we are. These are exciting times when the Ravens beat the Patriots on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I mean, I think it, we try to, when you have these regular season games, like, what does it all mean? And, for me, I think it means more for the Ravens because I think, we could see now that there's, some competition in the AFC for the Patriots. And now, granted, the Patriots are a good football team. Regardless of who they play, they execute, they got the personnel.
They were 8-0. I mean, it doesn't matter who they played, but they're 8-0, yes.
I mean, they played Pittsburgh early. Buffalo will be in the playoffs, and I think they're 5-2 right now. So, my thought is this: they're a good football team, and the way the landscape of the AFC is and their division, they're going to be there no matter what. More than likely, they're probably going to get a first-round bye, and with their schedule, depending on what they do the next few weeks, maybe a first-round bye. So it was a lot about the Ravens. What are they? How serious of a contender are they? And I think they proved that Sunday night, and certainly against a pretty good defense. The way they pushed them around, and there were some little cracks here and there. They have been giving up some yards in the run, but there was these big chunk plays. But the Ravens pretty much, pushed them around from beginning to end, and really the score wasn't indicative of what kind of game that was. I mean, with the Cyrus Jones fumble. The Ingram fumble, I mean, they gifted them 10 points right there. So pretty dominant win at home, what they needed to do, and they kind of let at least the AFC on notice that the Ravens are serious. And, certainly that the second game will be different for sure. I love the offense that they have right now, but,
The second game, you're saying the Ravens, when they come...
The second game, I think it'll be a little bit more difficult to run the football and some of the schemes that they do. It doesn't mean they won't win. I just think it seemed at times pretty easy in that game and gave Lamar Jackson a lot easier throws. You're talking 3rd and 3, 2nd and 2s. I mean, you put him in that position, he's going to be very successful.
Well, that's what they do on first down, though. Flinner, I'm up in the section, and,
Yep.
I remember when you were blocking for Jamal, and we had Jamal on earlier in the week, and I ran into him, and Ogden, Eddie, all those guys, right? That there was, we would yell, in the top, anytime we'd run, you can't stop us, it's great, we're rumbling, we're doing all that. I mean, as an offensive lineman, to see Marshall Yonda pile driving Eric DeCosta after the game, to see Matt Skura getting loose down on the left side, blowing guys up, there's something about running the football for guys who do what you do for a living that really sort of validates when you can run. And we had a run early in the game that was only a 5-yard run. It was, Mark Ingram went around the end, and we're in 2nd and 5. And we're all in the upper deck saying, oh, man, we should have gotten more off of that.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, when 5-yard first down runs aren't good enough because you're used to 7 and 8 yard this is where we were a year ago when I first started talking to everybody about this. The impressive part for me of this offense is down and distance because they're never in 2nd and 14. They're always in 2nd and something that seems like better than 7 or 8.
Yeah, and that's for a lot of different reasons, right? That's difficult to do. Whether it's you take a bad penalty on first down.
Sack.
Inevitably, right? You have a sack. Inevitably, the defense is going to make a play on you. But this style of offense, right? You need to stay on schedule, right, and have those manageable down and distances. But in terms of as a lineman, right? I still go back, and even though the league and the climate of around the NFL with head injuries and everything, like I still think that if you're a physical team and you could bully other teams and you could beat the man physically across from you, there's some value to that, right? And it's not just scheming teams in front of you, spreading them out, dinking and dunking, throwing the football, and not be able to hit the quarterback. That if you could line up and push somebody around, and by the end of that game they can't play anymore, like I still believe that's what football is. And when you have an opportunity as a line to do that, it feels pretty good. And with Greg Roman, his ability to scheme up different runs and the ability of your quarterback to make good decisions doing that. I mean, even if he doesn't run 25 times in a game, there's always that threat, right? And it's his job to be smart when he runs and when he hands it off, right? You don't want a guy that as good of an athlete is, they'll catch him, and it's just his body type. He's not a guy that's going to take that kind of pounding continuously. So, he's got to be smart, but he always has that threat to run. It holds backside ends. It holds linebackers, right? It confuses defensive tackles. So, he's such a good player that they have to account for him, and the Patriots weren't ready for it. And they were prepared. Listen, it's not like Bill Belichick woke up Wednesday morning and said, all right, we're gonna game plan the Ravens, okay? They have advanced scouts, so, they probably had a pretty good game plan in their mind, but until you get on the field and you deal with a player of that caliber, when you deal with an offensive line, when you deal with a coordinator that is pretty well oiled on how he's going to call his plays and attack you, it's really hard to adjust. So,
well, Mike, I would say this:
like
they did contain him.
Yeah.
He had 16 rushes for 60 yards. If it came to we're going to stop Lamar from running the football, they did a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, but I mean, when he had the run, he did. I mean, he had some big runs, and the ability to prolong plays too. I mean, 16 for 60 for a quarterback, Nestor, is pretty damn good.
There's no doubt about it.
Don't get me wrong. So I mean, it's you're looking. I mean, that's a threat. I mean, that's a guy in the backfield that's running, and that's why instead of getting 140 yards a game rushing, now they're at 200 or 200 plus because of those extra 60, 70 yards. So, listen, the New England defense is pretty good. I mean, at times they figured him out after that Cyrus Jones fumble, right? I mean, you were there, but you could feel it when I was watching on TV. It's a little momentum was sucked out of that stadium, and I think.
Well, it's one thing if you do that to the Bengals when you're up 17-0. When you do that to Tom Brady, you know that they're coming back.
Yeah, and I could have told you that was going to happen. I mean, I saw Cyrus Jones up here for a couple of years. I could have told you at some point he was going to cough one up when it mattered, but that's another conversation. But, you felt it, and I think Patriots figured it out them for a little bit, but they adjust it, right? Offensively, they adjust it, and then they made the plays when they needed to. So, I thought the Ravens were a good football team, going in. I watched them a little bit early in the year. I thought they have a pretty good defense. I think it's a unique offense with, that they built around Lamar Jackson. The question is just needed to be validated. And, whether you believe the Patriots play an easy schedule or not, they're pretty damn good. And they're well coached, they're disciplined. They got great players, and they got pretty good defense, and the Ravens stomped them at home. So that's a huge win. And where do they go from here, right? You got to build on it, and at some point you're going to see them again. You hope in Baltimore, but, more than likely probably, in New England. So that's going to happen again. But it was a good statement by the Ravens. It was a win that, hopefully they can build on it.
He is Flynn 985. I taught him everything he knows about radio. He taught me everything I know about offensive lines. You can follow him out on Twitter and his beautiful child doing all sorts of wonderful Broadway stuff that we'll get to later. For the Ravens and the construction of the team, right? So you get rid of Flacco, you get rid of $20 million of cap number, you bring in a quarterback on a first contract. It opens up opportunities to do things like making a move for Marcus Peters when you need another cornerback and you felt like you had too many already, right? But there's the drafting of players and then the signing of players and then the value of players, right? Like a Kyle Juszczyk runs off to San Francisco a couple of years ago, but they wind up giving Nick Boyle money. They wind up giving Willie Snead money. And Flynn, it's almost like even the wide receivers, the Pat Ricards, everybody is an offensive lineman other than Hollywood Brown in this setup.
Yeah, well, I mean, constructing the team, right, in the salary cap here, who do you keep, who do you let go? I mean, drafting the right guys. I think it always helps, and you've seen teams that, that have been successful with quarterbacks on their first contract, right? And, not only is the quarterback the most important position on the field, right, but now, depending on what their, financial liability is even more important. You saw it with the Rams, when they had Goff out there. I mean, Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, right, was a guy that first-round pick, but still in that rookie contract. So what do? They go out there and spend money and make trades, So, that's a huge deal. When you're talking about a guy who plays at a certain level that's $20-30 million cap hits, and now he's 5 or 6, and you could use that money for somebody else, it's huge. So, you got to take advantage of it. You don't want to sign the wrong guys, but that's a big deal. So you get rid of Flacco, and you have a guy that's pretty unique, but you decide to build around and you bring in the right pieces, right? And it's also the mentality, right? I talked about it all week. One of the big conversations was generally, right, the when you watch the New England Patriots, and whether it's Houston coming in here, I mean, hell, we saw it in the Super Bowl with Seattle when they passed on the 1-yard line, when they probably had the best player on the field, the Marshawn Lynch. On and on and on. I can give you these moments in games where the other team just kind of crumbles and turtles. And, the general sentiment up here when we talk is like the Ravens just aren't that team. Now, listen, New England's good. They beat the Ravens just like anybody else, but they went up here in the playoffs a couple of times. They've won down there. Like, for some reason, whether it was Harbaugh was there.
Well, I was going to say, it's Harbaugh. Harbaugh's the only thing that's left, and we have a kicker, you know what I mean?
No, but I mean,
which we didn't have when Billy Cundiff was shanked.
Personnel with Ozzie and the players you bring in, whatever it is, it's that mentality, and they're aggressive, and their mental toughness, and they're not perfect. Don't get me wrong, nobody is, but when they play the Patriots, they get beat, right? They're not a team that's going to fold just because of the Patriots. But I've seen, I'm telling you, it's painful to watch. You watch the Ravens and you're locked in there. I'll watch 16 Patriots games, and it's constantly where, the old adage, right? Most games are lost, not won. Well, when the New England comes out, they're disciplined, they're well coached, and they just sit there and they run their game plan and watch teams constantly melt. Well, the Ravens in general, like over the years, they have that mental toughness, and they don't, and that's why they win on the road. And hell, the only other I think of in the last, 15 years, the Jets are the other team that won in Foxborough in a playoff game. Well, what is that? There was an offshoot from Rex Ryan was there, and you had a lot of ex-Ravens players there, like
Bart Scott was there at that point.
Bart Scott was there. Like, it's just for some reason the Ravens organization, they just have a certain grit to them that plays well, that matches up. And you have the head coach that believes in his game plan, and you may not always make the right decisions, but it's because it's something you believe in, not because you get lost in the moment, right? There's a big difference. But you saw it the other night, and if it ends up coming here in the playoffs, it's going to be the same type of game. The Ravens are going to play tough. I don't know how it's going to shake out. I think the Patriots certainly will be better, but the Ravens are a team organizationally that goes toe-to-toe with the Patriots, and they don't do stupid things to lose. They just lose. You win and you lose. The Patriots are good, but they don't melt under the lights.
Mike Flynn is here. He is Flynn985, and by the time the Ravens are playing in the third week of New England, I'm selling the buses already, Flynn. Just throw me an email if you want to get on the bus trip for the AFC Championship game in New England.
You know what? I honestly, I have never been. Well, I mean, I've been to the Patriots game. My dad had season tickets growing up, but I haven't been to the Patriots game since I played for the Ravens. You know, that first year, my last year of college, I haven't been. And you've been there, right? It is the worst stadium to get there. You know, once you're there, the tailgate, it's great, but you know, I live north of the stadium because it's not in the city. It's I guess would be west southwest, and it's just brutal. So I never go. But if they get into the AFC Championship, it's up here. I think this is the year I finally have to break the, what is it now, like 20, 30-year streak of going to a
You know what, man? We've been friends for a bit, 22, 23 years now going on when you came in here. I've never gone to a football game with you before. You know, like, I've gone with your parents 100 times, but I've never gone to a game with you. So
no, we went to a Sixers game, and we've been to a concert.
We went to an NBA final game.
Yeah, but we've never been to a football game.
Never been to a football game. All right, yeah, I totally forgot.
Well, maybe this is a year.
You and I saw Kobe and Shaq play against Allen Iverson in Philly. That's what
I would, you know, it'd be, and it's interesting. At first, there was, at one point in the season, I felt that the Patriots were untouchable in terms of getting a number one seed. We'll see how it shakes out. But they have a tough stretch here. They got the Cowboys. I mean, they got Houston.
The Ravens have a road grader coming up after Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem you have. You know, that when you deal with schedules and you know, in a general sense, the AFC North, whether it's in division and who they shake out, right? It's always a little bit tougher, and that's what you have to deal with. But
the Ravens are going to see 4 playoff teams in a row. Houston, the Rams, the 49ers, and Buffalo. They're all going to be in the play. 3 of the 4 are going to be in the play. I'm not sure about Buffalo, but yeah, probably sure about Buffalo at this point.
I'm sure about Buffalo. I'm a little bullish on Buffalo. I'm actually cheering for them. I don't know why. Last year was Cleveland. I cheered for them. This year, I'm laughing at them, and I like to see Buffalo get in. But
how about Cleveland? It is fun to laugh at Cleveland at this point, right?
I love it. and you know, I have Dave Zassel, who was a punter for the Ravens.
Oh, he did the show a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, we're still very good friends, and through him, I've got to know a bunch of people from Cleveland, and it's constant my berating text to them. It's, you know, of course I can't repeat what I usually say on it, but it's comments about the team, and certainly about the town. I got to rip the city apart just to give them a hard time, but I've always felt, even when we were with the Ravens, and expectations, man, they are the worst thing to deal with, right? Because you walk around and...
Well, especially when they're high, because you either have to meet it or exceed it. It's hard to be 15-1 when everybody thinks...
Low expectations are great. I mean, yeah.
Everybody expected the Browns to win 13 games this year. If they won, you know, unless they won 14, they didn't meet expectations. They're not going to count the 5.
And you know, there's 2 ways you can go with those expectations, right? You could downplay and say, hey, 1 game at a time, or you can lean into that right hook and say, yep, and start, pumping or beating your chest and say, look at me. Well, we obviously know which way the Browns did it. And when they don't perform, and they're 2-6, but a bad 2-6, of course they're going to open themselves up to criticism. Certainly the quarterback, he's a guy that's been running his mouth, and he's a big problem of what they have there. And certainly the coach is a big problem what they have there. But yeah, not even close. I mean, they're not a good football team. They got talent. But with that said, I'm wondering if, you know, usually bad organizations, and you've seen this around the league, that's a big thing we talk about up here, because, you know, like Pittsburgh, probably Baltimore, New England, there's a few other franchises that have this stability, right? And
Philadelphia, throw them in there? New Orleans at this point?
Maybe, at times, but, you know, the Cleveland Brown organization constantly makes bad decisions, right? And you have a guy on staff that's been on a couple staffs that were there where the guys were fired. You know, it's like, I feel like they never seem to make the right decisions, and they don't have that stability. You know, you look what the Ravens have done. And now, the problem you have with the Baltimore Ravens is this era is the New England Patriots era, the last 15 years, right? And it's the best run any team's had. Is better than the Niners, the Steelers. But if you take the Patriots out of it, the Ravens are really, really freaking good, right? Couple Super Bowls, they AFC Championships, division winners. I mean, the playoffs, like, that's because of the stability with ownership, with Ozzie and now DeCosta, with coaching, you know, 2 coaches in the last how many years. I mean, that's an organization that can win, and it shows. Whereas Cleveland, I mean, you don't even need to be a football guy. You could be a football fan, and the decisions they make, whether it's for trades or free agency or coaching decisions, you say to yourself, like, this isn't going to work, is it? No way this is going to work. And it's not hard to do, right? So, I do feel like that seems like a pretty team that if they get out of their own way and maybe get the guy, a good coach that has a vision, like they probably could be okay. But it's not going to be this year. And for the Ravens, that's pretty good.
He is Mike Flynn. He is the main event, and we will be staying in touch with you as you make your moves from Seattle and New York and New England. Hopefully this third week of January thing, I will stay in touch with you. We've been to a baseball game together, too, haven't we?
Yeah, baseball. We did. It's a football. You're right. It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? But then again, you watched me for like 11 years, though, too, so that kind of counts,
Well,
right?
I watched with your family up in the upper deck every week, so I lived and died with Mom and Dad and drank beer with them. How are your parents? How's everything? How's the family? Give a little family update because you're no longer the most famous Flynn in your family. Your son is about to your son is about to trump your Super Bowl ring, apparently.
Jake's back in New York. Broadway starts in the spring. Mrs. Doubtfire. I don't know if you know they're putting that out in the Broadway show. So have you seen the movie?
Many times, yes.
Yeah, I mean it's a funny movie.
The whole deal. Yeah.
It's it's obviously very similar to that, but it's he plays a son in the son that was in the movie. He's that in the show. Very funny. If anybody's listening to this, I would recommend it. It's one of those deals like you can bring your kids, but obviously a lot of adult humor, but it's actually pretty good music and stuff like that. And he comes out in I think around December. He'll be in a Netflix special with John Mulaney that he's in. So he's been busy. He's got that coming up, and then he's got the show. He's out in Seattle, so kid's busy.
Stage parenting. That's the
I
stage.
love it. I'm nuts. I'm one of those crazy stage parents, you know what I mean? Now you want to talk about, I'm knee deep into youth athletics, right? I coach high school, I coach youth, all my kids play sports, and don't get me wrong, youth athletics has gone down a bad rabbit hole. But with that said, having been around that my entire life, like those sports dads or moms, they wear their heart on their sleeves. Some of them can be pretty pathetic, but you know where they're coming from.
Right.
But the stage parents, whew, you want to talk about a different animal. I mean,
pageant moms kind of.
It's the same thing, but they don't fight fair. That crazy football dad or hockey dad, they yell at you, they yell at the refs, they say, hey, this is this, you're that.
Dude, you're a guy at the bottom of the pile with Sam Adams hitting you in the nuts, and you're telling me about parents not playing fair.
I would rather 4th and 1, right? 4th and 20 from our 1 yard line going out with Sam Adams over me and no help. Than deal with these stage parents nose to nose. They don't fight fair, Nestor. They do not fight fair.
And there's no referee.
Right. You're right.
Mike Flynn, 9'8", the way to find him out on Twitter, and it's always good to hear from you. I love your parents. Hello to Mary and the kids and all that. And we'll say, hey, as long as we're in first place, I'll call every couple weeks, okay?
Yeah, I love it. Let's do it. And hopefully I'll see you in January. It'll be fun. I promise you, I think I will go this year.
And I will be coming to Broadway to see your lad. I do feel bad that I didn't make it to Willy Wonka. We tried a couple of times. I have no excuse because I'm going to see Billy Joel in New York next week too. So, but we'll get there. We're always a text away, Flinner. So happy times to the Flynn family and happy times to the first place.
All right, Ravens. Sounds good, buddy. Take care.
Happy holidays. There he goes, Mike Flynn. Flynn98 out on Twitter. Ravens Super Bowl champion from 2001. Somehow we fell in and we become friends, and he's regretted it ever since. Nasty at WNST.net, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live everywhere in the world in the buyatoyota.com audio vault. Make sure you're checking that out. I'm enjoying my Camry as well. Nasty at WNST.net, the best way to find me. Baltimore Positive rocking. We got Wes Moore on Friday night. Happy hour. We're going to be over at State Fair in Catonsville. Also Maggie McIntosh on Thursday morning. Next week, Tharu Vignaraja down at Fadley's at Lexington Market. We're having a crab cake there and talking about running the city. Mark Weller this week, as well as Lena Wen next week, learning about medicine and certainly development here in Baltimore and the Port Covington Project. We'll be telling you more about that. Lots of stuff going on. The Ravens are in first place. I'm headed to Cincinnati. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.